As I stand here today, I'm reminded of how far I've come in life. I've survived child abuse as well as domestic violence. I met my ex-husband in the winter of 2001 when I was 17 and dating him in January of 2002. At the beginning of our relationship, he was the perfect boyfriend. He was attentive and loving, and I couldn't have been happier. However, just a few weeks into the relationship, he became psychologically controlling. I didn't see it then, but he would play on my emotions to get what he wanted, to be battered. And because of the psychological breakdown for months prior, I was too afraid to report the physical abuse. I tried to leave my abuser several times, but he knew my weaknesses. He knew that if he played the "I'm going to kill myself" card, I would come back because I didn't want his demise hanging over my head for the rest of my life. When I'd come back, the verbal abuse would get worse. No one wants you. He didn't marry me because he wanted to. He married me because his spouse completed the fifth. And I knew what he did, and no amount of abuse would cause me to perjure myself. We weren't a happy couple, actually far from it. We moved back to Madera County and lived with his mom. Once we came back, the fighting and verbal abuse declined, but only because he was out with his friends. One day, January 12, 2003, 1 year to the day after I started dating him, I got froggy with him. I'd had enough. I wanted more in life, and it was around 2 p.m. that day that I confronted him. He screamed and yelled and said some things, though I can't recall what they were. He destroyed a piece of my property. Tim and Vicky no longer existed. I was so full of anger and hatred that when he left the room, I grabbed a DVD player of his and threw it as hard as I could. That was my downfall. I never should have done that. But I did, and I couldn't take it back. When he walked back in and saw what I had done, I was in for the fight of my life, literally. He began screaming and yelling, and again, I had no idea what was said. I wasn't paying too much attention. I noticed that he had a drinking glass in his hand, and a guardian angel or intuition, or what have you, but I covered my face with both hands and made sure my thumbs covered my temples. At this point, he never hit me with anything other than his fist. But something told me today would be different. Within a matter of seconds, I felt burning sensation on the left side of my head, and I took off screaming. I remember pushing him out of the way and trying to make it outside while leaving blood evidence on the floor and walls. I was scared. I was afraid that this would be the end of my life. Die some horrible and gruesome death. I guess I'd become content with dying by his hands. He grabbed me and stuck my head under the running water. He was washing the blood from my head. I thought surely he was going to kill me. He's sorry for what he did. I was wrong. He was still angry, and in between being tender and sweet, he would shove my face into the tub of water and hold it there. I guess all my fight wasn't gone, or maybe it was just a reflex, but I began to fight back to breathe. I scratched and pulled and pushed and anything else I could do to take in oxygen. I felt like forever, but it could have only been a few seconds, and he was done. Done hurting me, done fighting with me, done controlling me. I was in the bedroom trying to figure out what I was taking back home. And back to the home that I was safe in, back to my grandparents when the cops pulled up. My saviors. I'll never forget the officers that day. I felt an overwhelming need to protect my daughter. This little girl could never go through what I went through. I couldn't and wouldn't allow it. Out of the blue, I became the aggressor. I became verbally and physically aggressive to the one man who loved me and protected me, my husband. As each year, I grew harder to be around. I began doing self-destructive things and even contemplated suicide. I knew I needed help, but I was too proud to seek it. So I kept going along this vicious cycle until I literally hit rock bottom. I began writing the Edge series, and I felt a glimmer of hope. I released emotions I had bottled up for years. It felt good. However, without proper processing of the traumas I had endured, this good feeling was only going to last a short time. I began feeling as if I was losing my mind. I wasn't sleeping or eating. I was depressed and fighting with myself mentally. I wanted to end my life. I didn't want to be around. I couldn't forgive myself for turning in to an abuser and self-destructing. Through help and support from friends, I was placed on a low-dose antidepressant and found long-term therapy. And here I am 7 months later. After my mental breakdown, I am back to who I was before my ex-husband abused me. 7 months of EMDR therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I am now medication-free and I know quick to anger. Some days, however, I do wonder what my life would have been like without my ex. Would I have been an attorney, a doctor, or a teacher? Would I have married the man I'm married to today, and would I have 2 of the sweetest kids in the world? When those thoughts come in, I have to always remember I have what I have because of what I've been through. I pray that I can touch the life of one person, and that one person won't have to suffer in the ways that I have. I would have loved to never been a victim of domestic violence, but that's not to be. So more than 12 years after I fought for my life, I have learned to adapt to a past I cannot change, and hope that through my experiences, no other woman will have to adapt to a past that she cannot change. Thank you.